Start my sausage making day. This morning I cut up 40 pounds of pork butt, and what I do is put it in trays, and luckily my big upright freezer can handle these 20-pound food lugs. I'll put the chunks in here, and I like to get them semi-frozen. I find it gives a much better grind, goes through the grinder really well, and keeps everything really cool. When you're trimming your pork butt and cutting it up to make fresh or smoked sausage, this is one thing you should look for and try to remove it if at all possible. This is a gland. And the way you can tell it apart, you can see how it's a light brown, real shiny, no muscle striations in it, whereas this is a piece of pork meat itself. This is not too bad. There's only one per pork butt. But if you leave it in, sometimes you get a mouthful and you can taste it, weird taste in the pork meat, and that's from the gland. So I always remove them. They're pretty easy to find. They're in the loose leaf fat in a crevice between the muscle. And when you're trimming it up, you should be able to find it relatively easy. These are the seasonings I'll be using today to make up my fresh breakfast pork sausage. This one has not too much of a sage flavor, just enough to let you know it's there. But it's very flavorful. I find it tastes much better than Jimmy Dean. So here we go. So for 10 pounds of fresh breakfast sausage, what we have is non-iodized salt, or I normally use sea salt. That'll be 3 tablespoons. White pepper will be 1 tablespoon. Rubbed sage will be 2 tablespoons. Ginger will be 1 teaspoon. Nutmeg will be 1 tablespoon. Ground thyme will be 1 tablespoon. And then red cayenne pepper will be 1 tablespoon. And in addition to this, I add 1 tablespoon of crushed red pepper flakes, because I like it a little bit more bite to my breakfast sausages, especially when I do stuffed jalapenos with them during the summer. Here's the grinder I'll be using today. It's a Cabela's number 12, 3/4 horsepower grinder, all stainless steel. The plate I will be using is a 7mm. I think that's close to a 1/4 inch coarse ground plate. I think some people call it a chili grind. When I'm ever making fresh sausage, I like to use a coarser grind. If I'd be making smoked sausage, I'd use a hamburger plate, or like a 3/16 inch plate. But today I'll be using the 1/4 inch for a coarser grind for my fresh sausage. So here's 10 pounds of coarse grind, 1/4 inch grind pork butt. And to that, I'm going to add my seasonings for my fresh pork breakfast sausage. And what I do is I dissolve it first in water, just to make sure everything is dissolved nice. Just pour it on top. And we're going to mix it by hand. And that's it. It's all mixed. So what I have here is my 15-pound vertical stuffer that I got from northerntool.com. It's all stainless steel. In it is loaded by 10 pounds of fresh breakfast sausage. And whenever I do breakfast sausage, I always load them up into these bags, these game bags. Because normally I'll make patties, or I'll use it in bulk form and stuff jalapenos or do other things with it. I rarely ever do link with fresh breakfast. So this is how we stuff them. And what I like to do is I stuff it pretty tight. I hold on pretty tight to the bag until I see it expand. And then just move it out real slow. These bags will hold about 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds. And then when I get towards the end, all I do is I twist them really good. And I use a plain Jane hog-nosed pliers with rings. And that's how I package my fresh breakfast sausage.